Please take your seats. The program is about to begin. Please take your seats. The program is about to begin. Please take your seats. Our program will begin now. Please welcome to the stage Bloomberg's Indonesia Bureau Chief Yudith Ho.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can take your seats if you haven't. I'm delighted that you can all be with us this evening, whether you're here with us in this room or joining us virtually. If you were here earlier today, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. It is truly wonderful to see so many familiar faces at such an important juncture in the country's history. You can look around the room and you see the people working hard and building really exciting things in the country. We have a great lineup for this evening. We'll be focusing on sustainable cities, how to build them, how to fill them, and how to fund them. I'd like to acknowledge our presenting sponsor, LPS. And with that, let's get started.
This is a beautiful country that's blessed with an abundance of natural resources. From them, we trade. The market is a place where we share, full of information and hospitality. We enjoy them together. Public welfare should be supported by sound finance. Therefore, banking plays a very significant role in the national financial industry. Public trust is a major factor in the banking industry through the banking intermediation function that supports national development throughout the country. IDIC strengthens its presence as a trusted institution that promotes and maintains financial system stability. From us, for us. IDIC.
Please welcome to the stage LPS Chairman Pubaya Yudi Sadewa.
The Honorable Dr. Bambang Susantono, Head of Nusantara Capital City Authority, Dr. Ridwan Kamil, Governor of West Java, Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Anies Baswedan, he will join through VidCon, Governor of Jakarta, period of 27-2022, Republic of Indonesia, Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, Chairman of the Advisory Team of the Transition of the State Capital, or IKN, Mrs. Lana Sulistianingsih, Chief Executive Officer of Indonesian Deposit Insurance Corporation, Mr. Didi Madiono, member of Board of Commissioner of Indonesia Deposit Insurance Corporation, Ms. Desti Damayanti, Senior Deputy Governor of Bank of Indonesia, Mr. Dian Ediani Rai, Chief Executive of Banking Supervision of Financial Service Authority, and all distinguished guests of the gala dinner tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum, may peace be upon us all. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, greetings of virtue. It is a great honor and pleasure for me as Chairman of the Indonesian Deposit Insurance Corporation to welcome you tonight. On this occasion, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all of our distinguished speakers, moderators, and participants of the main event and private breakout session of the Bloomberg CEO Forum. I would also like to extend my appreciation to the Bloomberg team for their excellence in organizing this event. It gives us great pride to support this prestigious event, as the outreach of Bloomberg on the global scale is well known. The Bloomberg CEO Forum is a prestigious summit that gathers CEOs, executives, economists, investors, and governments at the international level. In the previous session, we have heard many ideas on global health and sustainability. Both topics are currently extremely relevant, and the way we approach them today will shape the future world we live in. It is not enough to leave things in the discussion forum. What is more important is that we act on what we have discussed today by working on implementing the initiatives and ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, in tonight's agenda, we have the opportunity to discuss Indonesia's plan in developing our new capital city, Nusantara. The government has envisioned that Nusantara will not only be a smart city, but also can become an environmentally friendly city. Hopefully, the discussion can also add to our understanding regarding the concept of the new capital of Nusantara. We also hope that our guests can understand why Indonesia chose this path, and that Nusantara can become an example for others. According to initial study, we know the transfer of the capital to Nusantara in East Kalimantan can encourage equitable development, which is currently centered on Java Island. The transfer will increase investment in the new capital city and surrounding provinces, with an estimated 50% more of Indonesia's territory will experience an increase in trade. In addition, the transfer is expected to increase national economic growth by around 0.1 to 0.2%. I think that's too small, Pak Bambang, yeah? So it'll be higher than that, maybe more than 1% if you invest more, yeah? Indonesia needs equality and equitable of development because there are more than 17,000 islands, not just one island. The construction of Nusantara is also a manifestation of Indonesia's commitment to tackling climate change. Indonesia targets zero carbon emission and 100% use of new and renewable energy by 2060. In Nusantara, it is estimated that from one point to another, it can be reached within 10 minutes, using 80% of public transportation and 70% consisting of green areas. To conclude this speech, allow me to point out that Nusantara will show the greatness of the Indonesian nation, reflect national identity, ensure socio-economic and environmental sustainability, becomes a sustainable city in the world, and drive Indonesia's economy in the future. Before, my boss asked me to sponsor this event, but he has one message to me. Don't make the Bloomberg CEO Forum as a speech contest only. I'm pretty sure that all of you who presented this morning and this afternoon got an A+ grade in terms of speech. However, I understand that there is still lack of commitment, implementation. Now, to trigger the follow-up on the discussion of IKN Nusantara, in this occasion, IDIC, LPS, would like to announce that IDIC is ready to move to Nusantara and has allocated a budget of around $250 million in 2023. That is provided IKN or Pak Bambang support us to do so. We need a good piece of land, Pak Bambang. Please, IKN, support us. You have a real investor here. Thank you very much.
Now let's get started with our session for this evening. I would like to introduce the West Java Governor, Pak Ridwan Kamil, onto the stage, and the head of the new Capital Authority, Pak Bambang Susantono. The West Java is the most populated province in Indonesia with 50 million people. And we are really excited to hear the policies that he has in plan. And also joining us virtually is Pak Anies Baswedan. I would like to start with you, Pak Anies. Trying to make a metropolis like Jakarta sustainable must be very complex. I want to ask you, what lessons did you learn along the way in sort of reverse engineering a city like Jakarta into becoming sustainable? I think we have some technical issues. Maybe we can move on to Pak Bambang. You have the advantage of starting from scratch and learning maybe from the lessons of other cities. How are you taking the experience of these other cities, not just in Indonesia, but also other countries, to build this forest city?
Okay, thank you so much. And it's a great pleasure for me to join all of you this evening. And it's also very happy to be here with all the two great governors that running big province and also running a city, like Kak Emil and also Pak Anies. I think we have a different path of the development stages if you want to compare Nusantara with others, right? Because what we are going to do is to shape the future urban metropolis in Indonesia. To do so, we want to implement or try to apply all the good concepts of the new urban development. Right? So I have a 5 sort of like things or traits or characters that we have in Nusantara. First, smart green, right? Because we want to comply with all the environmental conditions, and not only for that, with the climate change. I'm glad to share with all of you that we are the first city that launching in last Tuesday in COP27, the locally determined contribution plan. Yeah. We are launching a study with the Asian Development Bank to have the LDC. Are you familiar with the NDC? NDC is at the national level, national determined contribution, but we are going to have the LDC at the local level, at the city level, to combat the climate change. So we are in a good track for that. So green means that we also will tackle all the mitigation and adaptations of climate change. Second is smart. This is a new norm. Every cities would like to be a smart cities right now. Yeah? But for us, smart means that we want to have a city that is efficient, that will ease the urban citizen to do so many things. Yeah. It's not about the technology, it's not about the concept, but how this technology can help the urban citizen to do everything more comfortably. That's the second one. The third one is resilient. From the COVID-19, we learned that health resilience is one of the key. Yeah. Before, we only thinking about resilience concept from the financial, economic, climate change only. But now we have to add another dimensions, the health. So we have to have, for example, the health system, health facilities, social protection embedded into the urban planning and management process. Yeah. The fourth one is inclusive. This must be a cities for all, not only for the particular group. Yeah. Right now, for example, we try to do our best to upskill and reskill the local communities there in Nusantara, so that they are not just watching what is happening in the new city, but also become part of the process of development. Yeah. So we want this to be inclusive for all. Yeah. And lastly, of course, the sustainable. So green, smart, resilient, inclusive, and sustainable, because this is going to set the course for the future urban metropolis in Indonesia, hopefully. Inshallah, we call it. Right? So, back to you.
I also want to reach beyond the city first, and also to suburbs and rural areas. Pak Ridwan, we know West Java is not only a vibrant urban center, but it's also a manufacturing hub and also an agriculture area. How are you building resilience across all these different areas and all these different challenges?
Yes, thank you. I was the city mayor of capital of West Java, Bandung, 2013 to 18. Professionally, I was a practicing architect and urban designer. So it was very interesting. When I was an architect, I'm serving the client. When I was a city mayor, I was the client. Yeah, so I can imagine and also execute with a good result. Now, from 18 to now, 4 years, I've been dealing with more broader issues in West Java development. I have 27 regional government, 10 in the form of city, and 17 in the form of region. So it means I have to balance, and most of the time I have a new role, which is coordinating role. Yeah. For example, in the greater of Bandung, I have to regularly managing a coordination between the city of Bandung, the region of Bandung, the region of Sumedang, the region of West Bandung, and the city of Cimahi, for example. When it comes to my area close to Jakarta, where Pak Anies was the governor, Bogor, Bekasi, Depok, we have to think beyond the political boundaries. For example, during COVID, right? Because COVID is crisscrossing the political boundaries. So we need to have more coordination skill as a leader. So I think coordinating would be my mainly routine. Second, we believe 3 strengths that we want to bring. Number one is good economy coming from good infrastructure. So West Java is always number one when it comes to investment every year. Last 5 years, West Java number one. I did a survey, why you choose West Java, right? 5 years in a row. Number one is perceived as the most comprehensive infrastructure. We are building 9 toll roads as we speak, okay? We are building high-speed train as we speak. We are finishing the biggest seaport, Patimban. The first phase is already finished in full capacity exporting vehicles. We are having also airport that we just presented in different hotel today to invite investor. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to human capital, West Java worker perceived as the most productive human capital in Indonesia. Yeah. And third is responsive investment climate. So I think, again, if you ask me, in general, I'm very optimistic about our economy, representing the whole Indonesia, also very optimistic. Next year will be a global recession, but many predicted we are doing okay. West Java will be also the face of this doing okay situations. I'm very, we grow 5.7%, for example, inflation under control, poverty reduced, unemployment also reduced. So I think the challenge is more making sure my mindset also the same with 27 mayors and region mindset also. So I think that will be the challenge from my situation.
Thank you, Pak. I'm glad to have you with us, Pak Anies. I also want to ask you, I mean, you have the challenge of managing a complex city like Jakarta and making that sustainable. What lessons can you learn from your experience there?
Sure. Thank you, Yudith, Pak Bambang, Pak Ridwan Kamil, and all participants. It is indeed, the question is not about whether living in a cities or mega city is sustainable. The question is how to make living in the city sustainable. Because you know that the world cities occupy about 3% of the earth, but cities account 60 to 80% of energy consumption and 75% of carbon emissions. That's sort of with the one side. But on the other side, cities are also economic engine of the world, and the majority of the population is now living in cities. So we must understand that a fight for climate must also be a fight for better livelihood. And the vast majority of people are still struggling with basic needs. That is what we are also experiencing. And they come to cities hoping to find better opportunities. Those urbanizations will continue. And therefore, effort to tackle climate change must also be understood by the people as means to improve their livelihood. So we're glad that Jakarta, I'm happy to report here, is on the right track in fulfilling the climate target. 2 years ago, in 2020, Jakarta reduced its greenhouse gas emissions by 26%. And with that pace, we're optimistic that 30% reductions of emissions that is targeted in the year 2030 can be achieved much sooner than expected. Because imagine in 2020, we reached 26%. So we have 8 years to go and more 4% to reach. On the other hand, we are also succeeded in showing our economic resilience by a rebound from its lowest economic growth, negative 2.4% when the pandemic hit us in 2020. And we're back to positive 5.6% in the second quarter of 2022. So if we had to share one of significant progress over the past 5 years, I would say it's a transportation reform. The reform in that sector has produced significant impact. Transport, as we know, produces a significant amount of emissions. And in Jakarta, it contributes the largest share of emissions. It is around 70%. So shifting the public away from cars and motorcycles into public transport and non-motorized transport is one of the best ways to tackle climate issues in cities. And I think this is some of our important lessons. And providing an integrated and reliable public transportation system here in Jakarta, which we produce through a system called Jaklingko, became our priority, and it has made a huge change in our city. So transportation costs was estimated make up about 30% of household expenses. And with the new approach, citizens are now paying only 10,000 rupiah, around 60% in US dollars, to go anywhere in the cities. And in addition to affordability, an integrated public transport system also offers reliability, which increases productivity. And also, there is a positive side impact, which is promote social interactions. So the benefit, not only the community through its reliable services, but also the transport operators, the laborers, and everyone in the ecosystem were experiencing a new ecosystem that made public transport something of their benefit, and people feeling it as something that they a new experience that they enjoy. So with this approach, what we are seeing is this. One, the public, we're shifting away from private vehicles into public vehicles. We are reducing green carbon emissions. And on top of that, we are integrating our society. So the technology is there, policy option is there. This is from our experience. What is needed is political will. When there is a political will, it is translated into budget and it is translated into policy actions. Then public started to experience that reform. So that's some of our experience here in Jakarta. Thank you.
Thank you, Panis. So we've spoken about the optimistic outlook for growth, for investment. But in a country like Indonesia, when you build something, unfortunately, that does mean you have to cut down forests, you have to clear land. How are you, I want to go to you, Pak Ridwan, because you were speaking about investments. How are you balancing this need for economic development and this need to create jobs with environmental protection?
Yes, I think all Indonesian regional government must comply 3 levels: national level policy, provincial policy, and its own local government policy. Within this, we are complying to SDGs, that are agreed globally and translated into local regulation or peraturan daerah, for example. That's in the form of responsive policy to sustainability. And I think it is mandatory that we are also educating the whole society about, to balance 3 Ps, the profit, people, planets, because sustainability is about balance. So when I translate this principle of sustainability, we are, for example, last week just passed our 10 years land use plan of West Java, protecting what we call the rice reserve, not to be transformed into industrial park, for example. As you know, West Java is home to 60% of industry in the whole Indonesia, okay? So we are very strong in industry, but yet we are surplus in rice production. So every year, my province in West Java produce extra 1 million ton of rice. So this is balance, of a good rice production, but also a sizable number growth for industrial. And we are campaigning also to society to be more sustainable in lifestyle. 2017, I was mandated by President Jokowi to revitalize the longest and biggest river in West Java. It was labeled as the dirtiest river in the world, Sungai Citarum. Then we are doing what we call pentahelix approach of collaborations, ABCGM, academician, business, community, government, and media. And I'm happy to report to you, after 3 years from heavily polluted river, now scientifically the status is light polluted river. So the endemic fish appears again, children from villages swimming again to the river. And Pak Jokowi asked me to present this achievement in COP26 in Glasgow to show to the world that basically the recipe is collaboration. You cannot rely sustainability only to government. It's up to everybody, the business, the community, the media, campaign. So I think that's what's happening in West Java. But as I said before, problem majority in environment in West Java is due to the urbanization that too centralized in urban area. That's why COVID gave us a lesson that too dense of an urban area becoming also the center point of COVID disease, right? So now, because of digital access, people can work anywhere. So this concept is very attractive to young generation. I said to this young generation, hey, post-COVID, you don't have to go to Bandung or Jakarta. Let's work anywhere in the village, by the mountain, connected by digital with your knowledge. Then you live in the rural, but you make urban income, and you can make a global business. So I'm selling this idea of the new decentralization of urbanization in West Java, and I think we are doing very attractive response.
In this era of remote working, it seems like it sort of doesn't matter where you are, but at the same time it does because it influences your lifestyle. I want to go to you, Pak Bambang. Building a city from scratch is difficult enough, but I want to ask you, how then do you get people to come? How do you build a thriving community in Nusantara?
Very good questions, because a couple of things. First of all, if somebody would like to move to one area, he has to be comfortably living in that area, right? So for those who are going to move in the Nusantara capital city, there will be, for example, first, health facilities. That must be available at the first place. If somebody has a stomach aches, for example, he knows exactly, or she knows exactly where she goes, for example. Second one, education facilities. I think this is very, very important for those who would like to raise the children in that city. The third one, of course, the amenities, the day-to-day errand. Yeah? And the fourth one is, there is some branding of the city that can attract people to come to Nusantara. So if I compare with my two colleagues here, the number of population that we will have, I think we only have 1.7 to 1.9 million people in 2045, based on our natural carrying capacity. So Pak Anies and Pak Ridwan Kamil has more than 5 million. There's a famous song in Indonesia right now, Ojo dibandingke, katanya. Please don't compare this one. Yeah? But for the 1.7 to 1.9 million people, we want that they enjoy the life there, right? With all the smart things, everything comes to them rather than they comes to the office, for example. If they want to have a birth certificate, they just do some apps. And the certificate will come to you in your apps, right? If they want to go errands, they can also do some apps, digital things, right? And we have also 10-minute cities, meaning that in 10 minutes, all the urban citizen has to be able to reach some destinations, for example, schools, a market or small kiosk, and also the transit point. So we learn from all the experience from my two colleagues here. Yeah? And please don't imagine this as a city in 2025 or 2030. Imagine a city in 2045. Yeah? At the time, we have a 10-minute city. We have the driverless car who will serve as the public transport in the backbone area. We encourage people not to have vehicles on that area. There will be what we call the uninterrupted pedestrian lane that connected all the corner of the city. We call it the Titian Warga, because we believe that pedestrian and walking is the best way to do some activities in the city. And in Monday we will have also some MOU with some Korean company to have the unmanned aerial mobility. So please again imagine this one in 2045 and not in 2030 or 2025, because at the time maybe there's a lot of drones coming in, there will be some logistical things like the Amazon that now is doing, and also the unmanned aerial mobility that will connect Nusantara with Balikpapan and also Samarinda, creating the ecosystem. But all in all, what we offer to people who would like to move there is a good quality of life. I talked to Ambassador of Finland a couple of days ago because we want to also follow Finland on how to keep track with the happiness index. Yeah? Maybe we only know that Bhutan is the one that used the gross happiness index, but the best or the most happy country in the world is actually Finland, right? So how we can keep track the level of happiness of our citizens there. So there is a lot of things that we try to do at the first place, and we set the system right. And then with that, of course, I would like to back to Pak Ridwan Kamil points about SDG, because I'm going to have a special delivery unit SDG in my office to keep track all the SDGs of Nusantara. And we would like also to have, for the happiness things, there will be a chief experience officer in my office. To, again, to try to understand, to have a feedback from the urban citizen, what kind of experience that they are now experiencing, and what will be their sort of like needs to make them happy in the future. Yeah, so some of the innovations will be there. This is going to be 2045, not 5 to 10 or 15 years, but 2045. And we love also to hear from any audience some ideas, for example, even the wild ideas on how we make this city really livable city, a sustainable forest city that gives happiness, comfortability, and also easiness for everybody to live in Nusantara.
Very exciting. On to you, Pak Anies. There are, of course, many eyes on Nusantara, but Jakarta is still going to remain the financial and business center. So how do you envision Jakarta after the move to the new capital?
Yes, indeed. Jakarta will continue to play its role as the hub of Indonesian economy, as well as culture, and net as a hub of transportation's logistical system. So Jakarta role in Indonesia will perhaps be more or less similar to what it is today. Its role as the capital city, as a central of government, central of political activity, may be reformed, but in its economic role, it will continue. And as you know, that the largest metropolitan is Jakarta. It is a megapolitan, but there are also big cities, and we will be the hub of all of that. And if I also may share, Jakarta will continue to be a benchmark for other cities in making a sustainable city doable. As I earlier mentioned about public transport, we know that across Indonesia, most urban areas still relied on private motorized vehicles, and Jakarta is shifting from car-oriented development into transit-oriented development. And that's one of an important role that Jakarta is showing to the rest of urban areas across Indonesia. Let's not repeat what we experienced in the past. Our size in terms of territorial is around 600 kilometers square. We have 11 million people, and we have 16 million registered vehicles. Let's assume 5 million of them were operating outside the city. Still, we have 11 million motorized vehicles, and we have 11 million people. That is what we are today. And it is a result of decades of development that is based on car-oriented approach. We started 5 years ago to embark on that new journey that Jakarta is being developed as a as a transit-oriented city. And with that approach, we hope other urban area in Indonesia will also embark on that journey. That will tackle many things, such as climate challenge, and also about efficiency in our economy. As we know, that traffic congestion costs so much to the economy. On that approach, on transit-oriented, it is not only about building public transport, but also about creating green spaces. And all our cities across Indonesia will need to do that. So Jakarta started doing that. In the past 5 years, if I may share a little bit, we have developed no less than 400 parks and 48 urban forests across the city. And we are shifting our paradigm about parks. In the Indonesian terms, a park is called taman. But the concept is garden. And we're shifting from garden to parks, even though the name is still called Taman. Because garden is a place where you actually observe, you watch plantations, you watch flowers, you enjoy the greenery. But parks is a place to play. So urban areas as being reformed in terms of its park facility so that it will enable our community to enjoy interaction through parks and also to help create a more sustainable cities. So if I may conclude on your questions, on the one hand, Jakarta will continue to be the center of Indonesian economy, to be the hub of mobility across Indonesia. But let's not forget, it's in Jakarta that majority of reforms about urban management is also taking place. And that will benefit cities across Indonesia. So we do things that with that, the role of Jakarta as gateway to the world, and for the world to enter Indonesia will continue to be in Jakarta. So I'm pretty sure the vibrant city of Jakarta continue to play a significant and positive role in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Anies. We are running out of time, but I do want to do a quick round. If each of you can summarize in one sentence or less, you have each describe such thoughtful responses to how to build sustainable cities. But here's my question. If you were leading a whole country, what is the one thing you would do to ensure it is resilient and sustainable? Maybe we can start with Pak Anies.
Resilience and?
Sustainable, Pak.
We really have to make our cities more livable, and we have no choice. We don't want to move to Mars. We want to stay in our cities. And so we had no choice but to make our cities more livable. And doing so, we need the political will. The technology is there. The policy instrument is there. What is often absent is political will translated into fiscal and policy actions. That's what's needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. Let's go to Pak Ridwan and Pak Bambang.
Yes, I think great life is a balanced life. All problems come from excessive lifestyle in the form of economy, excessive in the form of social lifestyle and many things. Yeah. So I think the goal of sustainable is basically balancing how we progress with economy, how we inclusive to social justice to people, but also preserving the environment. But the problem is not everybody has the same mindset. So I think the challenge to get to the point sustainability, resilient, successful is, for me, the most challenging one is to educate the decision makers and also the society. Thank you.
Thank you. Pak Bambang?
Yeah. Nusantara is a cities for tomorrow, where all the people, nature, and culture will be in harmony. So let's reimagining cities, especially in Indonesia, with a new standard, with a new norm, with a new way of living, working, and also learning, so that a city of tomorrow that will host and have the 5 characters that I mentioned before, the green, smart, inclusive, resilient, and that will be enough for our sustainability for the future.
Thank you so much to our exciting panelists. Let's give them a round of applause. And thank you for listening raptly to our conversation. We also want to thank our presenting sponsor, LPS. And from here, I hope you enjoy the dinner. Thank you so much. We will have a cultural performance towards the end of the evening, and I hope you have a great evening ahead.